Hello. I want to talk a little bit today about Shakespeare, current events, and American history. We'll start with Shakespeare. A line from The Tempest. The past is prologue, which means history sets the stage for what is to come. Now, today we have DOGE, we have Trump, and we have two big currents moving through the country. The one current is to attract all business that we can to the United States. Trump is doing a marvelous job bringing in new businesses, bringing in new opportunities, bringing in employers. The other wave that we have today is the DOGE and Elon Musk are eliminating waste and trying to streamline government. Now, that's current events, so let's go back in history and talk about the founding of America. And really, to understand what we are doing today, we need look no further than what happened at our founding. Everybody's aware we had a Revolutionary War. We beat England in a miraculous turn of events. Long war, hard war. But the real work, if you can say that, was forming a government and writing a new constitution. The United States was the first country in history to purposefully write a constitution to keep government limited. It had never happened before. No one had ever tried that. We didn't know if it would work. And all we could do was hope that we did the best. So, looking at 1800, let's see, the Constitution started 1790, roughly. We got kicked into gear and started operating. For 10 years, things were iffy. Nobody gave us much of a chance of making it. And things were not good. But we had a secret, and we didn't even know it. And this is the secret I'm going to talk about today. We had a vast country, geographically big. Things were spread out. It was still new. It was still wilderness. Our towns were still small. I mean, London was 30, 50,000. Boston was 5,000. I mean, we were small. And the one thing we did have was the marketplace. And the marketplace was different in the United States than it was anywhere else. And the reason for that was we were colonies and we tamed a wilderness. So the people who were colonists, who were now United States citizens, had grown up learning how to take care of things themselves. They didn't ask the government. They didn't ask permission. They just went ahead and did it. They needed something built. They built it. They needed something plowed, they plowed it. That's the way we worked. In Europe, other countries, you had to get permission from the aristocracy, the aristocrats, or you had to get permission from the government. But in America, it was like, why? Let's just do it. So we let our marketplace work. There was no place else on earth that had a limited government, meaning constitutionally, it was limited. Geographically, it was limited. And it didn't have much power when we began. So the marketplace operated, and it operated without the stifling regulations and rules of government. Well, by the 1830s, Americans were getting rich. People from Europe would come over here and they'd look at our country and they'd say, how did this happen? We can't believe it's happening. I mean, think of the poverty in Europe and look at everybody here is kind of wealthy. People are getting fed and they eat and they have fat little babies. What's going on? Well, people wrote their relatives, news accounts talked about America. Our immigration exploded. We went from a very small population to a rather big population. Our population eclipsed the population of Britain by the beginning of the Civil War. It It was also by the beginning of the Civil War that we were probably the most prosperous country in the world. We just didn't know it. And especially, we didn't know why. Why were we the most populous country in the world? Well, people might have said, well, you have a lot of rivers, you have a lot of farmland, fertile farmland, you have the Industrial Revolution, but none of that really was the reason we were the most prosperous nation in the world. The reason was the marketplace worked. Now, I've talked a lot about the marketplace. I've talked a lot about the government. The marketplace is a competitive system. The government is a non-competitive system. In the marketplace, every day, people get up, they go to work, they work to eliminate waste. It's automatic. They work to eliminate waste because they're competing. The other thing that happened in the marketplace was we allowed common people to think. Sure, get a patent, get an idea, make an invention. Who cares? In the beginning of the country, there were 500 or 600 patents. That's it. By the end of the century, 1900, there were 750,000 patents. That's a lot of thinking. That's a lot of ideas. No other country in the world was doing this. We had the common people doing it. And we were becoming prosperous. So now when you take those ideas, remember the past is prologue. How did it work? How did we become prosperous? And apply them to today, what we see immediately is we have a huge juggernaut of a government. It is way too big. It is way too wasteful. It is strangling the marketplace with all the rules, regulations, and we finally have someone coming in who is a businessman, by the way, and that's Elon Musk. We also have a president who is a businessman. The interesting thing about economists, this is a little sideline, but all the economists that talk about the economy and why this happened and why that happened, not a single one of them is a businessman. I find that kind of interesting. So, for example, you might know everything there is about flying a jumbo jet. You might have studied it for years. But if someone took you then and put you in the cockpit and said, okay, fly it, you think you could fly it? Well, I don't. So what I'm talking about is in order to understand business, you have to be in business. You have to have been in business and understand. Details are what get you, and competition is fierce and it's difficult. It's not easy. We have that group now looking at our government and we're doing the right things. We're attracting as much investment as we can. We're making the marketplace as attractive as we can, and we're limiting what the government is doing, what it can do. This is a recipe for prosperity. You limit the government, and you emphasize the marketplace. So that's basically what I wanted to say. The past is prologue. Look at our history to see what we did and why. This is the thing nobody gets, is the why. This is what I'm explaining. Why? It's because the marketplace is a competitive system. Economists don't understand this. You will never see economists say that prosperity is created in the marketplace because they don't know why. I mean, they might say it's created in the marketplace, but they have no understanding of why. The reason is the marketplace is a competitive system. The other side of the economic spectrum, people say government can create prosperity. Well, that's just a fool's mission. Government cannot create prosperity. It's a non-competitive system. So, when someone talks to you about the government and the marketplace, just remind them. The marketplace is competitive. The government's non-competitive. It makes all the difference. Talk to you later.